To inform my audience on the roles Jackie Robinson played in not only baseball, but in the civil rights movement. During these times, Jackie Robinson was just an ordinary African American. He didn't have much to do. He couldn't do really anything because segregation was a really big thing during this time. Alright, so during the mid to early 1900s, the segregation was a big factor in life for African Americans. Life was hard in their everyday life. They were told where to sit, where they could go, where they could stand, but they never had a chance to do what they wanted to do. But that all changed when the Brooklyn Dodgers made history and possibly one of the biggest moves to sign a young African American in the mid 1940s named Jackie Robinson. Nowadays, this doesn't seem like a big deal, but during their time, it was a huge deal. It was one of the most biggest impacts on the civil rights movement, and it helped a lot of people stand up for what they wanted to be. So early day life in Jackie Robinson. Early day life, Jackie grew up in a poor sharecropping family. He was born in 1919 in Cairo, Georgia. His mother finally moved them out to Pasadena, Florida, with him and his 3 siblings. Then Jackie went to Murray High School and excelled in 5 sports. Jackie was the first African American to get a full ride scholarship at UCLA and excelled in football, track, and baseball. Years before the breakthrough, Jackie never graduated. This might seem like a big shocker, but he never graduated college. He left and got drafted by the Army during the Pearl Harbor attacks. But he still went to the semi-pro league and went from team to team in the football, and he didn't really stay at one place. So his baseball career, later in 1946, he was drafted by the Kansas City Monarchs and only making about $400 a month. That's a lot of money for 1945, but now that's nothing. The Kansas City Monarchs, many people don't know this, but Kansas City Monarchs were a all-black league. They were in the black league. So, then later on in 1946, he tried out for the Boston Red Sox down there in spring training. But sadly, he walked away. He just didn't feel like anything was right for him, and he just kept getting picked on, and it was just not right, so he just walked away. Later, though, the Brooklyn Dodgers looked at him and was like, "We want him. He looks good. We need a second baseman." So they picked him up and sent him straight to the International League in the minor leagues. But that's not where it ends. Controversy started in the minor leagues. His team would get threats. The police would tell him that he's not allowed to play in their home fields, or that their games would be canceled completely if he were to step on that field. He was also not allowed to train with the team. So when they went somewhere, he had to go somewhere else. He could not stay with the team. He could not train with the team. He had one of the toughest lives of being a Major League Baseball player. His minor league debut finally came, and the civil rights movement was a big partner. So he finally made his minor league debut in his first against a major league team on April 17th, 1947, in a game against the Royals where he made history for the first time. This showed African Americans that they could stand up, that they could do whatever they needed to do. He led the minor leagues in batting average with a .349. That's really good nowadays because a .349 is usually you get 3 out of 10 hits. And also led it in fielding percentage with a .985. And he won Most Valuable Player that same year. This is showing some signs of him becoming one of the best players and one of the most influential players. The problem was his teammates rebelled against him. They didn't like playing alongside of him. They just rebelled. Later after one of the games, though, the general manager came in and said, I don't care if this guy is yellow or black or he looks like a freaking zebra. I'm the manager of this team, and I say he plays. What's more, I say he can make us all rich. And if any of you cannot use the money, I will see that you get traded immediately. This was one of the most, probably biggest quotes, because this showed that the general managers were actually stepping up and just standing there, sitting there, doing whatever to protect him. But even with his teammates standing beside him, he still got hit and he got abused to a point to where the commissioners would have to step in and say that they would have to suspend or fine anybody that does this, that hurts him. But even with all this abuse and everything, he won Rookie of the Year that year and led the league with stolen bases and sacrifice hits. He had 29 stolen bases and 28 sacrifice hits when he won Rookie of the League. Another big influential thing was Jackie Robinson was a chairman of the NAACP, Fight for Freedom campaign. A lot of people, this is the National African American Color Protection. This stands up for a lot of people. He also wrote a letter to Kennedy saying to him to make civil rights acts. Finally, it happened, but back then he was the chairman and he wanted Kennedy to make a civil rights act. After retiring, many African Americans looked up to him. The major leagues started letting African Americans on teams. This was a big factor because there would not be many good African American players if it wasn't for Jackie, such as a player who really stands out and everybody should know, Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's home run record. He got 915 home runs about 20 years ago or 30 years ago. He did it. He did something amazing. And then finally they had at least one African American on every team, with the Red Sox being the last team to allow it to happen in the 1949 season. On this April 17th, 1997, it was the 50th anniversary of Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier. On this day, the league and every commissioner on every stadium decided, hey, let's retire the number 42. So if you go to a baseball stadium, you'll see a big ball or you'll see something hanging up that says 42. That's Jackie Robinson's number. You can never get that number ever. Just like you'll see a lot of numbers retired up there at Atlanta, at the Atlanta Braves Stadium. You have 42, 6, 3, 38, because it's the greats. You have to be one of the greats to get your number retired. On the 24th, 1972, Jackie died of heart problems and diabetes complications in Stamford, Connecticut at age 53. He was a big part of a lot of stuff, and that was a sad day for a lot of people. So in conclusion, I hope you learned something about Jackie Robinson, his strides and mentality that he had taken and had to endure the suffering and abusive racial slurs. Shows that his impact on the civil rights movement was for a purpose. That him breaking the color barrier in baseball wasn't just something he wanted, but was something that he needed to show and to help his fellow African